Welcome back, everyone, to the Xamarin Show. I'm your host, James Montemagno, and this week, super special, super excited, good friend and friend of the show, Jakub has joined me to show us everything awesome, this brand new, awesome Azure app that I can't wait for him to tell everyone about. Jakub, how's it going?
Good, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Have you tried our new Azure app?
I have a little bit, but I didn't want to spoil too much. You were telling me about it, I got super excited, so I downloaded it, and I wanted to play around with it, but I was like, there's so many features in here, I'd rather just have you on the show to talk about it.
All right, I'm glad that you said that there's so many features, because actually we are very careful with not adding too many features, because we want to know what user thinks, what we should add to the app, because the main idea of this app is we don't want to create an entire portal in your mobile. We want to have something that you will use when you're out of your machine, and for example, you can check your notifications, or you can like go and restart your VM, and you can look at your CPU metrics and take some critical actions.
Yeah, because I'm in the portal often, but I don't always have a laptop with me. I always have my Android device with me no matter where I'm at. And if I'm on a plane, I've tried to load the portal a few times. It's a little tricky depending on that Wi-Fi. So now I can essentially take some of the functionality of the portal with me. Is that the idea of the application?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
So the main idea is you're somewhere and your CPU is going through the roof, and maybe something went wrong in your VM, so you can go to your VM, you can reboot your VM, and maybe this will save your service.
That's awesome.
Another idea is like many times when I'm waiting for my lunch, I'm like thinking like, okay, let's see how many like visitors on my blog did I have. So then I can pop up my phone, I can go to my app service because I host my blog on Azure, and then I can see all the metrics, how many users I had today.
Very
cool. I think this is a pretty cool idea, and we have much more features to come. Like for example, you are able also to RDP to your virtual machine from the app.
That's awesome.
You can also SSH to your virtual machine in the app, and you can also, because we have a console here, and in this console you can SSH to your Linux VM. And I just last night what I did, I SSH to my Linux VM. I used Vim to edit the index.html file and then updated live my VM, and then you can, even do things like that. You can edit your configs. You can use your Azure CLI on the console, and you can do it from the mobile app. You don't need any third-party app.
So what's cool about this is that you built this application. It's available today on the app stores. It's fully written, all in C#, all with Xamarin. Hence, you're on the Xamarin Show, right?
All right. Yes. Yeah.
That's the key point too. And so this is like. Well, I want to go through all the other features that we talked about, but I know you're really excited about this thing. And so you are connected to the Bash PowerShell or something like that, right?
Yes, so we have this new feature on the portal that you are able to use your Azure CLI here, but you can also, this is just Bash PowerShell. You have Linux VM for you just for the duration of this session, and you can SSH to other VMs, and you can manage your Azure Linux VMs. Because for Windows, you have even better story where you can like RDP, and you can have user interface on your phone, and you can also edit your files.
That makes sense. Cool. So can you walk me through the normal features of going in and managing resources? Like for me, I have tons of resources, and I don't only just have resource groups, but I have, I have databases, I have websites. So like, how does this application make my life better?
Right. So I also have tons of resources.
762 apparently.
Correct. So one thing you can do, we have a filter. You can filter by type. So for example, if I want to see my SQL databases, I have only 17 here, and I can dig into there. I can just see my app services, or I can look at my VMs. For example, the AAA VM is mine here. So I dig in. You can see the charts. You can see CPU percentage. Not much because I wasn't doing much there. Disk writes, networks in and out. You can even see all the properties, which is like flattened JSON data here.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, so if you really want to dive into all the specific details, that nitty-gritty, that's like the 8th blade, essentially, that flies out in the portal. It's just like, here's all the stuff, right? Yeah.
Correct. Cool. And you can collapse it, so you don't have to see it all the time.
Yeah.
All the sections are collapsible. You can
you
can customize this. You can see status of your VM. You can also start, stop, restart. I won't do it now. And you can also favorite. So you can see like this VM was actually favorited by me.
Yeah, because maybe it's
if you go to favorites tab, you can have your favorites. So the resources you use the most. Like for example, I care about my blog, you probably care about your blog, so you can pin it at favorites. You probably care about your Evolve app, you want to pin it there, and you can go straight from there. And like, for example, I want to dig into my storage account, and let's see what's happening on my storage account. And here are some charts.
There it is.
No, here are some
lots
charts. They're
happening.
loading, async loading. So we have some data here going on, and you can also unpin. I don't want to unpin yet. Oops. I just dig in, sorry for that. And the most important thing is you have notifications. So if something is going on, you can just dig in here. You can see there's not much stuff going on. We have a
more than mine, I would say. Mine's like blank. It's like you've created a new service, you've deleted a new service, you've created a new service. But this is important. So like if you set up, is this when I set up those notifications in the portal? Say, hey, notify me when it's over 80% CPU usage. I'll get notified right here.
So so there are like two different types of notifications. One are the service alerts. Like, so for example, you can see here there's some issue with IoT Hub that it's now resolved. And so if you have some Azure IoT Hub in your resources, you'll see this. If you don't have, that may be why yours is blank. I have some IoT Hub in my subscription.
Because you have 756 different things. Now, is that also across accounts? Because I have like multiple. I'm in a big team here at Microsoft. I have multiple accounts. There's multiple teams. Does this app, like, because that's the biggest part in the portal, I have to like switch this thing, do that thing, do this thing. Like this just puts it all in there still?
So resources and notifications, they are, let me switch to all resources filter here.
It's fast too, super snappy.
Yes, we try to keep it as fast as we can, and it will be hopefully even faster soon. So here on the hamburger menu, you can choose your directories and subscriptions. So, and I know that people are confused when you say directory. Most of people don't know what that means. So this is a thing. Like here I have
your
three
AD
directories.
Account, right?
Yes, because you sign in with AD account here. Let's not dig into that, but when somebody will tell you change your directory, you do it here in the hamburger menu. And here, every directory have different subscription, right? When you can switch between them. Like, for example, I can switch to other Playground subscription, and here I have 297 resources, and there are different resources here. But in my favorites, we put whatever you pinned in different subscriptions. So this is cross subscription. So here, like for example, my VM is in my subscription Ibiza FX1, right? But my resources now, because I switched my subscription to Ibiza 2,
it still shows up.
So this still shows up. So then you can, pin resources. You just use the most. You don't have to care about subscription.
I love it. And then I also saw some other things in the flyout menus. You have like some leaving feedback when you're reporting bugs. So this is what you were saying in the beginning is looking for feedback on it. It's hot off the press, right? I mean, it's out there now.
Yes, definitely.
Very cool.
Yeah, please click feedback. This will take you to the website where you can promote your ideas. You can vote for other ideas. It's very similar to what we have for Azure Portal now. Where and if you go to Azure Portal feedback, you can see like the top voted features are in progress, because we try to deliver our features based on the users, what they need. So if you need something in this app, definitely go to feedback, vote for other stuff, and I'm pretty sure that we'll get it done sooner or later.
Very cool. All right, so we wanted to not only just show off the application, we said that it was built with Xamarin and C#. So why did you guys pick Xamarin? I know why you picked Xamarin, but I mean, tell us for your team, like what is the team made up of that's building the application? What was the motivation, and how did you pick between, it's a very complex application doing a lot of stuff and really snappy. How did you choose what UI architectures and libraries that you guys used in this?
Well, so we knew that we want to have a cross-platform app. We knew we will have to support different mobile operating systems. So we are debating, of course, like should we go native? Should we go cross-platform? Should we use Xamarin? Should we maybe use Apache Cordova? And at the end, we of course we talked to different people. How you were using Xamarin? How is it? Is it good? Is it bad? I talked to you, of course, and you told me awesome. I tried it, and it was working very good. So so then we decided we give it a shot, because most of people in this team are C# developers, so they know C#, right? And if you know C#, and if you know a little bit about iOS or Android development, you're good to go. There's not much more you have to learn, because you can just Google how to do this in iOS. You copy paste code. You just translate the Swift to C#, and you're good to go, and everything works. And this is great.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the trick of whatever I want to do iOS and then put Xamarin at the end. And most likely, it'll come up in C#. Or we have great docs, too. Essentially, that's how I got started, too, is if you want to go learn Xamarin, you go to developer.xamarin.com. There's iOS, Android. Just learning the basics gets you so far, because I'm assuming a bulk of this logic of everything going on besides the user interface is shared, right, between the different apps?
Yes, definitely. We have, I think, something like 60 to 70% of share code, which is great, because going back to C# store, for example, we use Active Directory authentication, and the C# library for that is pretty good. So we are able to use that here, and this is, of course, all as much as we could. It's in shared. We also talk to Azure Resource Manager, which is the biggest part of the shared code. We get all these resources. We have all these different commands to start, stop, restart. We have all these charts that we fetching the data. So this is all shared code. And also another thing, here in my virtual machine, for example, we have charts, which we use Crossplatform Oxyplot library, which I need to thank Frank Kruger for recommending it, because it's awesome. We just did a prototype for iOS, and then we just took the code, put it in Android, and everything worked. And this is great. If you choose native development, iOS and Android, you'll have to do the same twice. You have to figure out different libraries. And then at the day 100, you'll think oh, damn it, I cannot do this small thing here, but I can do it there, right? So our idea was that if we'll be able to go in one platform in C#, for example in iOS, then we have 90% certainty that it will work on Android as well, right? And if we get that work, and if we get a lot of shared code, so then we can speed up changes, so you can deploy any change in shared code and it goes all platforms, then it will be very helpful. And also Xamarin is very cool in, as you mentioned, the documentation. There's a bunch of samples, and there is a bunch of also open source libraries. For example, we use your settings plugin, which is great. Again, cross-platform. I don't have to learn about iOS settings. I don't have to learn about Android settings. I just grab James' settings plugin and
boom, pop it in.
Use it. Yeah, and for example, favorites. We store favorites using the settings plugin.
It's my favorite. It's my first plugin that I ever wrote. So if people don't know what plugins are, think of it as that there's all these APIs, like you're saying. There's an Android API for settings that are stored across app updates and installs and things like that, and one for Android, one for Windows, and one for iOS. So what I did is I just abstracted that into a common interface that says add or update setting, get setting, and it just returns it to you. But it stores it all natively, so you can write that stuff in your shared code. So you just have to worry about managing this once. I take care of it for you. And there's tons of great plugins out there. We'll put all these links, so links to the apps, links to where you can give feedback, links to all these great libraries that you're mentioning there, because I think the fun part is not only showing off the application, but talking about how we built it, what libraries, and shout out to all the awesome creators out there. So any other cool libraries that you're using?
Yes, so again, going back to Xamarin and sharing as much as we can, when you develop mobile apps natively, you're always running into the issue with images.
Always.
You have to have different resolutions, especially for Android, especially for for Windows, then for iOS. And then what you can do with Xamarin, so what I did, I went to Xamarin Chat, and I recommend everybody to go there, Xamarin Chat, slack.com, and these people are awesome, because I asked them, hey, I want to use SVGs, because we have SVGs in the portal, and you want to bring it to our app. And there's no native support for SVGs in iOS or Android. So then they recommended us this FF image loading library created by Daniel Luberda, which we even talked to, hey, Daniel, this doesn't work. There was this fill opacity issue. Can you take a look? And after 6 hours, he was like, oh, I'm sorry, it took me so long, but yeah, it's already fixed.
That's awesome, yeah.
Whoa, that's great. And this library is working great. We have all our images as SVGs, and we convert them to native platforms, and it's all handled for us. We didn't have to have any PowerShell scripts to do transformation for 10 different resolutions. So again, this is also handled.
That's kind of the power, I think, too, is when I always talk about you're building native applications just in C#, right? So what's amazing about all these libraries is that you're still accessing all of the native APIs and creating a beautiful native user interface. So you're getting that native performance. So native APIs, native UI, native performance, and you can just see how fast that app flies, which is really cool.
Yep.
But to me, so when you said that you set this up, it was you built the application, and for me, I know it's always a difficult part of how do I build it? Is it on your machine? Is it on that machine? How do I deploy it? How do we do this? And you came to me and said, James, we didn't just build an application. We put an entire production pipeline into this thing with testing, and it's a full real production app. People are downloading and using it in the portal. So you wanted to not only just talk about it, but I'll let you just go through all of the awesome tools that we have here at Microsoft that really enabled your team to be super productive.
Yeah, sure, because I'm sure when you're doing your app, you're good to go if you just compile it on your machine, you deploy to the store from your machine, because you're by yourself, right?
Even still, I don't know. I don't trust myself sometimes. Here's what I like. When I talk to Donovan, right? So Donovan Brown, what he inspired me to do is like, you just push code, things happen, right? It's that magic thing that I just push some code somewhere. Maybe it's to GitHub, maybe it's to VSTS, and like 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, there's a brand new official release build. But all my tests ran. Like that's a magic feeling. You know what I mean? That's what I like. So even if you're a solo dev, you still need it, I think. So.
Yeah. All right. And actually, I started thinking this sort of the same way, because I was also doing my apps by myself. I just changed to release, build it.
So once you do it the first time, right? It's just like, oh, now I get why everyone should do this. Yeah.
Yeah, but another thing I love is VSTS, which has just great integration with Xamarin. It have all tools that you need to build your app, run unit tests in your app, run UI tests in your app, and you can deploy it to Hockey app, and even you can deploy it, for example, for Android to Google Play Store. For iOS, not yet, because you need to use their application loader thing.
Yeah.
But this is still great. So for example, at the beginning of using this, we had a few issues that you'll run into if you're a developer anyway. Like for example, how do I store my secrets? Because they shouldn't be in a source code, right? So another thing with secrets here, because you can have the variables that you can put your password here, right? But there's the one thing with Test Cloud that does not allow you to pass any parameter. You just need to pass the binaries, and you can pass everything what is, of course, in there, right?
Yeah.
So how do you pass the password? So we come up with this cool idea. Actually, Ben from our team came up with this idea. And we created a shell script, because, again, in VSTS, you can run whatever shell script you want. And let me open my terminal.
This is maybe like so this is essentially a password that maybe you're using for the UI testing, essentially, is what you're saying right now.
Our AAD password, right? And we have this script somewhere here not in car. Here it is. It's called GetUserPassword. And this is just one liner. And what this is doing, it's taking, let me go back to here. So here, I have my test user password in my variables, and it's hidden here. If you click this this button, it will be hidden, and then you cannot recover. So just so you know.
Yeah.
But
I've done that before.
Yeah, we have this password in our key vault, so it's all good, right? So we have this test user password, and then we pass it as an argument to our shell script.
Oh, cool.
And then in shell script, we just take this password and output this in the file, which is in UI test project. And then when you send this UI test project to Xamarin Test Cloud, you have this password there, which is fine. It's not in source code. It's just in VSTS as a hidden variable, and you can pass it there.
Yeah, that's really clever. So it's not it's already encrypted in VSTS, and just pop it over.
Yep.
Awesome.
Another trick we did with VSTS also, because if you have different environments, we have like alpha, we have beta, we have store version. You need to update the info plist file in iOS, for example. So then again, we have our script called update version number. We cannot get it here, but basically this is again shell script that is doing all the work for us. It's changing the bundle IDs. Like for example, for store we have .microsoft.azure. For beta we have .microsoft Azure Beta DF. Then we add like a date at the end of the version numbers, so we can have versioning in Hockey app, and all this magic. And after we're done with that, we have our password, we have our version updated. We build our app in debug, and first we build it in debug because we want to be able to run this in Test Cloud. And in debug mode, you have this enable Test Cloud flag that you can use in preprocessor, so you can init the UI test framework in your app. Yeah,
because you can't ship that to the App Store, essentially.
Yeah, you cannot. So then you have to build again in your release mode without this flag enabled. But first, you build it in debug, and then before running UI tests, we run also XUnit tests.
Oh, nice.
And this was thing I was struggling a little bit. Let's see. Let me refresh that really quick.
Yeah, it seems like it's stuck on a
Yep.
on a checkbox.
Yes, it doesn't let me uncheck. So this is running XUnit
nice.
tests. So because there is a task, in VSTS you have these tasks that you can just grab it and they will do magic for you.
Yeah.
But the problem with that was like we are doing this build on Mac, and there's a VSTS task that will run the unit tests, but it needs a Windows agent. So I was like, damn it, we cannot run unit tests here. But then I figured that we can have a command line here, and we can just run the command, and we can output our test results to XML file, and then we have another task that will publish this results.
Oh, there you go, cool.
So then if it fails, this command line task will fail the build.
Fail too.
And after that, we get to UI tests. And one thing with UI tests, if you want to go as fast as you can, use only one device.
Yeah.
And also, here in in advanced, use parallelization by text fixture. This is faster by test method. I talked to Xamarin Cloud guys, and they recommended us to use by text fixture, and this is going faster. So this is the fastest as you can go. And of course, the main idea of Test Cloud is you want to test on 40 devices, right?
Yeah.
You should do it, but not on like every commit basis.
Yeah, I recommend. Yeah, what I do is I think I have a nightly build set up.
Yeah.
So when I go to sleep, it's like, hey, run it on 20 devices, but really I want this to come back immediately on one device. Like, did I break anything?
Yeah,
So,
and that's
makes sense, yeah.
exactly because it takes more time. And another thing, like if you're doing UI testing, either on mobile or web, you use F word a lot, right? F stands for flaky because you have flaky tests. And if you have 40 devices, you have 40 times more chances that you'll get some flaky tests. And it can happen. Like sometimes in Test Cloud, in our nightly builds, you have 1 or 2 devices that were just loading and reach the timeout, right?
Yeah, you got to like update the test really quick. Like it's like really the app didn't fail, but you're good. Cool. And then you deployed a hockey app, it looks like.
Yes, at the very end, we add release notes because in Hockey app you also want to see this. Here we're just adding like last commit message, which again, shell script, add release note, one-liner. There's a environmental variable. In VSTS, you can output it to commit.txt, and then you provide it to Hockey app, and you're good to go. And and all magic is happening after. So after you push, we are in Hockey app. If everything goes well, of course.
And you're using Hockey app for more than deploy. Are you using it for crash reporting and analytics? Like, how are you gathering that information? Because to me, it's like you want to gather information. Like, you need to know startup time. You need to know performance. Is it flaky on a certain device that's out there? Like, how are you handling that?
Yeah, so we use it for crash reporting, like many people are doing, but we also use it for logging.
Oh, cool.
So a lot of people, when I was talking to a lot of Xamarin developers, they use some other library for logging, because in Hockey app, when you can just log events, and you can see the events counts in the UI. But the cool thing you can do, if you go to the Azure portal, and you can create App Insights Bridge app that will stream the data from Hockey app to application insights. So here I click App Insights, and here you can choose Hockey app bridge application.
One of my favorite features, I think, of taking, and it's like, essentially think of it as it is like sucks all the data from Hockey app into App Insights, which is super crazy powerful, right? It like blows my mind, yeah. So.
Yep, and then in App Insights, you have this, I have it already opened here in different tab, but for example, if you dig into our like iOS alpha build, and here if you click on analytics, you'll get this tab, which is our logs, right? And what you have in Hockey app, you have this custom dimensions column, which you can take advantage, and you can just output JSON there. So you can create dictionary, serialize to JSON in C#, very, very easy. And then you can, like, for example, dig in here. You can see here is anonymous user, and there is this user session ID, application version, blah, blah, blah. There is custom dimension also, and you can also see all of this. But this is not optimal. What you can also do with this, you can take this data and you can create Power BI dashboard. And you can output and dig to everything. Because here you can see there is very nice, let me remove that. There is very nice query language for all your data. So you can query everything. Like, for example, if I say, I want to see all the events of type this, or I want to see, for example, where
it's almost like you're querying via link queries, right? Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. Contains favorites. I'm not sure if there will be something there, to be honest, but yeah, so in custom dimensions, somewhere we are saying like, yeah, you're in favorites page, you load favorites page because we want to know how many people are using this feature. And what is the very cool thing, what I learned working in the Azure Portal team and now the Azure Mobile team, like we have metrics for like everything. So we can say what users are doing, what features they are using, what they are not using, what they are struggling with. Like for example, one PM in our team, he created this awesome map that is showing like what are the most often user actions in the portal.
Oh, yeah.
And also like sometimes we see patterns like, oh, he tried to do that, and right after he went there and did this. And a lot of people had this path. They didn't really do any action. They were just looking for things.
I remember watching a video of, I forget who it was. She was in, I think she might have been in Microsoft Research or some other research group. And she was researching how people use Visual Studio and the clicks that they make, but based off of like some eye recognition. So it wasn't just like what you're doing with your mouse, but it's where you're looking on the page, and did this whole research on it. And like blew my mind. If I find it, I'll put it in the show notes. But it was so cool because often I'm a click person. I'm not a command line person. I'm a clicker, so I'm always moving and I'm trying to move my mouse as fast as humanly possible. But if you can use this machine learning and like data to essentially, how can we lessen the clicks, or we designed it this way, but our users are using it this way, makes it a better experience. Super cool. Awesome. Cool. Anything else you want to talk about the app or show off at all, or crushed it?
Well, yeah, so we went through an entire pipeline. You use Hockey app. I think this is a more or less end-to-end scenario that we are implementing here. So yeah, just guys, go to the App Store and try out the app and tell us what you think.
Awesome.
And give us more feedback. And I don't know if maybe you have some questions about some stuff we did.
I love it. I mean, I think I poked you a whole bunch on it, and you're sharing 60-70% of code on it, doing UI tests. You guys do all the best practices. I simply love it. It's a really cool example of how you can take a team, start building cross-platform native mobile apps, and then just go to any platform possible. Awesome. Jacob, thank you so much for joining me. Go download the app on the App Store. You'll find it below in the show notes. And thank you again.
Yeah, thank you, James.
Until next time, I'm James Montemagno, and this is The Xamarin Show.